On this day in 1969, Celtic progressed to the quarter-finals of the European Cup on the toss of a coin. Celtic turned in one of their great European performances on the 12th of November 1969 when they defeated Eusebio's Benfica 3-0 in the second round first leg of the European Cup, with goals from Tommy Gemmell, Willie Wallace and Harry Hood. It should have been 4-0, a header from John Hughes being mysteriously disallowed midway through the first half. The second leg was a sentimental journey for Celtic, returning to the scene of their greatest triumph in Lisbon, with the players and management making a pilgrimage to Estadio Nacional while they were in the Portuguese capital. The newspaper reporting on the build-up gives an impression of a club confident they already had the tie won, but it turned into a very long night, with the outcome not decided until after midnight. Benfica's fans seemed to share the impression the tie was over, as only 50,000 of an expected 80,000 crowd turned up in the Stadium of Light. Celtic lined up Fallon, Craig, Gemmell, Murdoch, McNeil, Brogan, Johnston, Callaghan, Wallace, Auld, Hughes. Subs, Williams, Hay, Connolly, Hood, Macari. Celtic had chances in the opening period, and Tommy Gemmell's shot from a tight angle brought out a good save from the keeper. But as Benfica began to press, they held firm. Jim Parkinson reporting in the Glasgow Herald on the 27th of November. Benfica recovered, but Celtic continued to play skillfully under pressure. Brogan, who had been brought into the team as understudy for the injured Clark, impressed with his all-out endeavour, and 3 times he came to Celtic's rescue by intercepting dangerous moves. Eusebio had had to go off injured at Celtic Park and was still not fully fit, but he thought he had scored after 22 minutes, only to be denied by an incredible save by John Fallon. Parkinson writing, "Fallon excelled himself when in 22 minutes Eusebio, who had not looked a fit player, crashed a drive from 25 yards. The goalkeeper hurled himself across goal to push it past for a corner. It was probably Fallon's finest save in his career." Just as Celtic looked to be riding out the storm, the roof came down on them inside 5 minutes just before half-time. First, Eusebio headed a goal on 35 minutes, and on 40 minutes, right winger Graca scored again to put the tie back in the balance. Just before the half-time whistle, Bertie Auld was fouled by right-back Da Silva, who was booked. As players milled around the referee, Benfica's centre-half, Adolfo, headbutted Jimmy Johnston and incredibly escaped punishment. Celtic recovered their composure after half-time, Jim Parkinson writing, "For the first 15 minutes after the interval, Benfica, who had substituted Martins for Eusebio, tried desperately to push Celtic out of the match. But the Scottish team had recaptured their poise, although they were naturally reluctant to be adventurous. Yet Johnston had one wonderful run, but just couldn't guide the ball past Henrique." Benfica agonisingly scored deep into stoppage time, and not without controversy. A corner kick was headed in by Diamantina, but Celtic players were convinced the Dutch referee, Laurens van Ravens, had already blown the full-time whistle as it came across. Frenzied Benfica fans invaded the pitch, and the referee ordered the players to the dressing rooms without restarting the match. In this situation, the match must be restarted before the full-time whistle can be blown, and if extra time is to be played, the players should not go back to the dressing rooms. Riot police had to clear the pitch, while the referee cowered in his dressing room, having asked for 2 policemen to guard the door. An angry Eusebio came into the corridor outside, demanding to know what was happening, and there were heated words exchanged with several Celtic players before Van Ravens emerged and ordered the players back onto the pitch. The strong suspicion of the Scottish contingent, players, management and press, was that he had indeed blown for full time, but fearing a riot, decided on extra time. Celtic, with Auld and Callaghan replaced by Connolly and Hood, held out quite comfortably, and the referee again acted oddly when he blew for full time. Instead of calling both captains to the centre circle for the coin toss, he retreated to his dressing room again and in this cramped space, the captains were joined by the two managers and assorted pressmen. Billy McNeill described what happened to Ger Henderson in the Evening Times of the 27th of November. I guessed at the start of the game, Kaluna guessed for ends when we began the extra time, and the Dutch referee announced when we were summoned to his presence that it was therefore my turn to guess again, to see who should make the final guess that was going to put either Celtic or Benfica into the quarter-finals. He pointed out the two sides of his silver coin, flipped it into the air after I had said heads, down it came, and heads it was. So that meant I had to win 2 in a row. I decided to stick by heads, and up went the gilder again. This time the referee failed to catch it. It hit him on the foot and bounced against the grey concrete wall of his little dressing room. It bounced from one wall to the other, rolled around the floor on its milled edge for what seemed an eternity, and then went twisting down. Before it had come to a complete stop, I could see that it was heads, and then bedlam was let loose. The Celtic players knew by our shouts that we were through, but I hope I don't have to live through so much torture again in so short a space of time. In his autobiography, Hail Caesar, published in 2004, McNeill remembered, "When I asked Jock what he would have done had the coin landed in favour of Benfica, he replied, 'I would have kicked the coin before it had even stopped rolling.' I am sure he wasn't joking either." That same night, Galatasaray also progressed on the toss of a coin at the expense of Spartak Trnava, and in the following weeks, Celtic chairman Bob Kelly made representations to UEFA to find a more satisfactory way of deciding drawn ties. The penalty shootout was on its way.